I'm Rhonda West, and I am a member of the Life is Calling initiative at Auburn First Baptist Church in Auburn, Alabama. Our committee began its work in January of 2019, and we are grateful and we are appreciative of the time investment of Samford University as they helped us identify our calling. Our committee started in 2019, and we spent a lot of time in discussion. We were allowed to dream big, dream out loud in our committee meetings. We took the opportunity to spend time with our congregation, and we asked questions and we listened. We took surveys. We collectively read a book, and we invited the author of that book to come and spend time with us and help us as we identified our calling. We discovered that we didn't have to change our calling. We knew what our calling was as a congregation, but we were very excited to find ways to renew it and to share it with others. Our committee invited the congregation to share 3 to 5 words that represented our congregation, what we're about, who we are. We did it in the form of a survey word cloud, and it was very encouraging and very affirming, the words that our congregation chose to describe us. One of the unique aspects of our church is that we have an open communion table. And when we take communion each Sunday at Auburn First Baptist Church, our pastor says,
"We come now to gather around the table, where we find the grace of God in the bread and the cup. It reminds us that we are invited and welcomed to this place. But this is the Lord's table. It does not belong to Auburn First Baptist Church, so you are welcome around this table from wherever you have come." Our Life is Calling Committee invited Eric Thompson, an artisan and woodworker from North Carolina, to come down and visit us in Auburn. And we sat in the sanctuary, and he looked at our space, and he asked us questions about who we were as a family of faith. And members of the committee shared stories and memories about what is important to them, how this place has shaped their faith and their sense of conviction. And then he drew sketches of what a new communion table might look like, a table that embodies our calling, that represents our faith in God. And it was a table that was oval. So there was not a head of the table. It was a place where everyone could gather, where everyone stood shoulder to shoulder, putting their feet underneath the same table, creating community, but also sending us out, because at the middle of that table was the bread and the cup, speaking to us over and over again about the grace of God. One story that the committee told was about how whenever we gather to celebrate communion, to gather around the table, that for over 100 years, this family of faith has collected a benevolence offering to benefit those who are hurting, who need the most basic things in life. So this table not only gathers us together, but because at the center of it we find the faithful love of God, it also sends us out, calls us to serve community around us. It's why the committee titled this project "A Place at the Table," building and serving community. It is the place that reminds us over and over again of our calling as the family of faith here at the corner of College and Glen.
We realize that invitation comes in different ways to different people. And we hope that this communion table will invite people from however they need to come. Some people need the invitation of sustenance, of food and water. Others need the invitation to have a voice at the table, to ask questions and to be heard. Some people just might need to feel safe. They might need the shelter and safety that this place provides. Our children can find the invitation of our communion table to be a place where they can grow. They can light the Christ candle, they can open the Bible, and they can grow. And then I realize that other people might come to the table just to worship, to witness, or just simply to be. It's important at Auburn First Baptist that you feel welcome, that you feel invitation, and we hope that this new communion table will express that to all.
As our committee and our congregation has thought about what it means to have a place at the table, building and serving community, we have several projects attached to commissioning a new communion table, where we have tried to create softer edges to our family of faith, using our courtyard as the front porch of the church, creating an inviting space, not only to welcome, but also to gather. We have plans to put a peace pole on our courtyard, a place where we can gather to pray or to mourn as events and tragedies happen around the world, or as we remember the importance of God's calling to peace wherever we find ourselves. We have plans to allow our youth and college students to think about what calling means in their lives. We also invited our composer in residence, our minister of music emeritus, to write for us a piece of music that we can sing that invites us to the table whenever we gather around it in worship. We're also planning an event where our congregation can gather, a storytelling event where people in our church can simply share the stories from the history of this family of faith and how they have sensed calling in their lives or seen this congregation live out its calling in different ways, whether that's through mission or ministry or service to our community, where we can then have an oral history, writing down these stories and putting them in a booklet that we can give to members of our congregation or others to better share our story and to share our calling with those around us. In addition to the communion table, we also asked a noted children's minister who authored for us a vacation Bible school curriculum about calling, a curriculum that is custom written for our family of faith to help communicate our calling as a church to our youngest members and to help them reflect on what calling means as we find it throughout the stories of Scripture as well as the stories of our family of faith.